welcome back to another episode of Red Tinted Glasses. And for those of you viewing the episode on YouTube today, you'll have seen what we were talking about last week. You'll have actually been able to see a goal over the introduction music. But Callum, that goal wasn't really didn't really sum up most of our day yesterday.
It means nothing. It was absolutely woeful. But what would your one word be to sum things up, Glenn?
Mine's going to be predictable because
Okay.
I think we all predicted a defeat. I kind of felt we did battle with 10 men, but same old really against Rangers, isn't it?
Yep,
Yours?
exactly. I'm going to remember to put in the clip this time, and Neil's going to
Please
say
do.
it. Please let me have remembered to put it in, otherwise it'll just make no sense whatsoever. So insert Neil clip now.
Shite!
There we go. It was shite. We weirdly got better when we went down to 10, and there was a bit more fight. But the fact it took all that to get things better, I'm just fed up. I'm so done with it all.
Yeah, as you tweeted myself and Carol Innes midway through the game, you understand the meaning of apathy now, and I think that has well and truly taken over the support is apathy, especially pre-match when there was more tweets about people struggling to get up for the game than actually themselves being buzzing for the game, which is really odd when it comes to an Aberdeen Rangers game because these are the sort of games that we're always up for regardless of how we're doing.
But just, as you said, predictable. You knew how it was going to go, so there's no point getting excited about it. It's really bad when, like, in the middle of a pandemic, there's nothing exciting going on. You think, oh, football, that should get us up for it. But I'm not excited about watching Aberdeen anymore. There's nothing exciting. I'm like, okay, I'll put it on. I'll sit through it for 90 minutes. I'll kind of half watch it, and then that's it. It's not enjoyable whatsoever. The football's not entertaining. We're not getting any decent results. I hate it. I'm quite frankly fed up. Bring on the basketball. That's all I say. And then Miami Heat game got cancelled. Oh, fed up.
For those of you expecting tears from Callum, I think he's building up towards it very, very slowly here. But at least your voice will hopefully sound better than it did on the last episode.
No more Darth Vader impressions. Unless, of course, it has something happened. I tested it out before, so it should be sounding fine. But if it's happened again, I don't know what I'm going to do. I will probably cry then, but it'll be off camera.
So 3 changes to the starting 11 from the previous game that started against Rangers. We saw Sam Cosgrove, as we kind of expected, start, although it was in a part of a 2 up top at the expense of Matty Kennedy. And then the 2 predictable changes with Scott Wright and Dean Campbell coming in for Niall McGinn and Ross McCrory. Were you happy to see 2 up front?
I was happy, yeah. And I sort of, about 5 minutes before, I was like, oh my God, we're actually playing 2 up front. Oh my God, I'm excited. And then it sort of hit me there. And yeah, I was happy to see us go 2 up top for once against Rangers and have a go, as we thought was maybe going to happen. And the other 2 changed, as you said, just fit in with your word, predictable. We knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, I think my only, to use your bunny ears about having a go with 2 up top, the only downside for me in playing the 2 up top is Ryan Hedges drops into right wing back and we lose our attacking threat, and probably one of our best attacking players so far this season is playing in a defensive role, which can lead to problems as we later found out. But the game itself had a very frantic start and we could have easily found ourselves behind after 23 seconds.
Well, I actually think that Taylor mistake was sort of overshadowed. Everyone's kind of forgot about it as soon as the Hedges things happened. Can't we speak about that? He forgot that he not only was a football player, that he was a human being. I don't know what happened there. Just complete lapse of absolutely any concentration whatsoever, and let Morelos in inside 23 seconds. And then, thankfully, he had the exact same thing. And I don't know what his attempt was, because he should have put them 1-0 up, and thankfully he didn't.
I think I watched one of the replays from behind the goal, and I don't know if he's maybe getting a shout and he mishears the shout, or if Morelos shouts something, but I'm pretty sure he would have a bit of an accent. So I don't know where the confusion lies, because it's almost like he's leaving it for the keeper and then just a total misjudgment. It's really not kind of the start you wanted. But equally, we had a very good chance as well in the opening exchanges when Sam Cosgrove ran through, and he's got to hit the target. Inexcusable to blaze that over the Merkland stand.
basically. I think he took it far too wide for his liking and made the angle for himself pretty impossible. But yeah, he has to hit the target there. And weirdly, from that Ash Taylor error, for like the first 10 minutes after that, we were looking okay. And I was like, oh my God, but this is like, something might happen here. And then after about 10 more minutes, they'd taken control. I said to my dad, yeah, so nothing's happening now, is it? And then, we saw what happened later on.
Yeah, so I mean, we made I think it's fair to say a positive start, or a more positive start than most of us expected. And I don't really know if I can say we took the game to Rangers, but we were on the front foot, let's say.
Yeah, a tiny bit.
Yeah, but the one thing about playing an attacking player at wing back is you can get caught out.
Mm-hmm.
And Hedges did get caught out, but Ash Taylor wasn't tight enough to his man, and Morelos runs through. What did you make of the penalty incident and the red card?
It's so soft, but by the letter of the law, Beaton got it spot on, which is quite annoying. It's like the most softest thing ever. And initially I thought he's trying to get out of the way. He's not really trying to get out of the way, because he did put his arm around him as if to try pull him back as well, and then clipped his heels. No intent to play the ball, therefore red card and penalty. No real complaints.
I mean, I've got no complaints with the awarding of the penalty, but for me, I know it's the letter of the law, as you say, but it's incredibly harsh. But whatever happened to this, double punishment rule that came in? But again, I suppose you're not double punished if you attempt to play the ball, but you are if you don't.
But he clearly...
So basically, if he'd actually just dived in and made an attempt to win the ball, he'd have been booked. But just clipping his heels means he gets a red card. It's a ludicrous rule, to be honest.
It doesn't take into consideration like some things, and it's like going by the letter of the law. It doesn't take into account if it's an unintentional clip and there's still no intention to play the ball. But the fact he did try sort of grab him and pull him back as well, I don't think it's soft, but you can't really complain these days.
And so, in your book, then, no appeal from the club on that red card, just accept the ban that's coming his way.
Yeah, there's no point. If you appeal, it'll probably just become worse. So can't wait for that.
Yeah, and I think McInnes has actually come out and said that he understands why the red card was given, like you've explained to those of you tuning in. So I don't think the club will appeal, and he'll now miss Wednesday's fixture against Livingston. So that's great. But do you feel that playing Hedges at wing back was costly in the sense that we, for the 15-20 minutes that he was on the pitch, lost that attacking edge from him? Would you have rather seen Kennedy retain his place and play there? I know, again, he's not an out-and-out wing-back, but someone that's played that role previous.
I think Hedges is wasted there, and especially playing him there against Rangers. I guess it's like, okay, that's more attacking, getting more forward players in the team, but at the same time, when you're playing against Rangers, you're asking for him to be exposed, especially given the threat they've got. Not only their wide players, but then they've got Barisic and Tavernier on the fullback, so he's bombing forward as well. It's just asking to get for trouble, essentially, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. And, we went behind and you kind of thought, oh, well, the penalty was actually missed initially, which was a blessing in disguise unless you captain James Tavernier on fantasy football. I didn't, but I did have Ryan Hedges in my team as well, so that was a great combination of minus points. Morelos did get on the score sheet in the first half and kind of got carved open, and Ash Taylor doesn't get tight to the man. But after going behind, what did you kind of view our response?
I was just sort of resigned to the fact that it's probably just going to get even worse. And it took a while for that to happen. We didn't completely capitulate as I thought we maybe would, and it leak a few more goals before half-time. That didn't happen, so I guess some credit somehow has got to go to them for that. Perhaps that might have happened on another day. But, I mean, it wasn't... You can only expect them to come back so much when you go out 10 men against Rangers, but it's just so... It just saps the sort of any enjoyment out of the game that there was there out of you, didn't it? I didn't enjoy it.
No, but you knew as soon as the red card came out, and even though they missed the penalty, you knew the rest of the game was just going to be torture to watch. And there was large parts of it that felt like a training game. But the thing that strikes me from yesterday's game was, as much as Rangers created and threatened, the goals that they scored were really avoidable, and Ash Taylor again doesn't cover himself in glory at the second goal. He just leaves Morelos, and he kind of gets suckered in, and he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't. Ryan Kent runs right in front of him, so he follows the run of Ryan Kent, but there's no communication to Shea Logan behind him that you're now responsible for Morelos.
Mm-hmm.
And when the ball falls to Morelos, Logan's nowhere near to be tight to him to stop that, and Joe Lewis has got no chance either. So I think from McInnes, probably he'll be frustrated that we did well in limiting the chances, and the goals could have been avoidable. But yeah, as you said, there was just a matter of time, and Rangers really didn't have to get out of third gear throughout once we went down to 10 men anyway. So I'm sure they would have stepped it up if needed be.
I think it's frustrating as well for Shea Logan. I think other than that, Shea Logan actually came on and had a pretty decent game. And I know it's like passion merchant, but to be fair, no one else showed anything. So at least he was flying into tackles, and that was at least something we could take from the game. Yeah,
and that's actually an excellent point. We spoke in the last episode about needing passion, in this team for a game like the Rangers game. And the only person that kind of provided that passion, I'd probably include Johnny Hayes in that actually, was Shea Logan, especially with some of his tackling. He was not holding back, it's fair to say.
I enjoyed it. It's just nice to see someone flying into tackles these days. It makes a change. Well, unlike Curtis Main, he flew in pretty badly.
Yeah, I think that would quite easily been a red card, probably more of a red card than the Ryan Hedges, if you're not following the letter of the law.
True.
And I think, the video that you shared on your own Twitter account was quite an exuberant reaction from Messer McGregor in goals.
I mean, to be fair, his complaints are correct, but considering some of the stuff he's got away with, I think he should just keep his mouth shut. And that accent, oh my word, it is horrific. I'm sorry, It's bad.
It really is. Well, just put a bit of focus on Ash Taylor. I know there's some elements you want to speak about. He didn't have his best day, it's fair to say. He is a solid defender, and he is good enough against the so-called lesser teams in the league. Aerial battles is bread and butter for him, but he often gets caught out in big games, and when there is a mistake, it can be linked to him. I think it was fair to say that yesterday wasn't his best game for the club.
I think, when you say the lesser teams, obviously he does well against them. I think when players are getting, they're sort of lobbing the ball up to him, obviously that's his, as you said, bread and butter, and that is what the lesser teams tend to do. But as soon as he comes up against forward players with any sort of movement off the ball, it sort of just throws him a little bit. And we saw that again yesterday. It's a bit concerning. And he wasn't helped off the pitch by his partner. Before we get into that, I don't want to condone sort of getting other players, sort of their family or whatever involved. But at the same time, what was said to her about Ash Taylor was about his hair. There's a lot of worse things said about not only about Ash Taylor, but the rest of the team, the management, and all that. For that to be the one thing to bite on, and a 30-year-old woman or something like that, quote tweeting it to her thousands of middle-aged men followers, it's pretty embarrassing. It's just asking for her to pile on against a teenager. Get it together, but also maybe don't get sort of friend, family involved, I guess. But yeah, I thought it was quite embarrassing. She's probably the one that comes off worst out of all of that.
She does. I know where you're coming from, given that she's got 2 kids of her own. So if the shoe was on the other foot, I'm sure she wouldn't appreciate us. Again, bunny ears, celebrity, or however you want to view her, insulting her children if it came to it. But at the same time, it's so embarrassing. It's so cringeworthy, these fans that want to at her in the first place. And if you're wanting to dish out abuse like that to India Taylor, you've got to be prepared to take any form of abuse you're going to get back. I do see where you're coming from, but for me, you've just got to grow up about the whole thing. It's so embarrassing. And there just seems to be a level of, whenever Ash Taylor does something, let's just jump on the bandwagon and tweet his wife, because we know we'll get a reaction. But I do agree. She doesn't help herself by biting.
And, I mean, she could have said, okay, if you're going to quote tweet her, fire back, could have said something, as Grant Heath said, like, oh, we're in the middle of a pandemic, you idiot, he'll get it sorted when the hairdresser open. But to go at someone's, like, appearance as well, quote tweeting it to your thousands of fans of middle-aged men who are probably just going to be like, yeah, go India, and possibly jump in on it as well.
Yeah.
It's not the best idea. You look at Leeds when they targeted an individual and they got the backlash, open it into possibly more people going in on the same thing. She's kind of done, honestly, obviously on a way minuscule scale. I mean, come on, India, get it together. You're 30.
Yeah, I'm sure knowing how actively the club follow fans on social media and look where incidents are happening, I'm sure there'll probably be a quiet word in Ash Taylor's ear just to remind his wife about her actions as well. So, but it's just another kind of unnecessary thing that we needed. But it kind of sums up how bad the game was when this seems to be a general talking point for the podcast. Like, yeah,
it's just Aberdeen's an absolute circus right now, isn't it? And we're going to get onto it later on. It's even worse.
Yeah. Would you find any positives from yesterday's game? I know McInnes came out and said that the players were fantastic. Yeah, your reaction there says differently, but I think, if we're looking at players that were fantastic, I'd give pass marks to Johnny Hayes.
I'd say, yeah, Johnny Hayes and maybe Dean Campbell didn't get sort of outclassed. He's not played too much, not been playing too frequently, younger than McCrory and Ferguson going up against someone like Stephen Davis. He didn't get outclassed completely, so I'd say him possibly as well. But yeah, definitely Johnny Hayes, and he looked better further forward, which is a bit of a shock. Maybe that'll be something we can see against Livingston, given the fact Hedges won't be playing, and who knows if Scott Wright will be involved in the team much longer.
Yeah, well, that was going to be the point of discussion about Johnny Hayes. He got the assist for the Matty Kennedy goal and in general looked lively up front. Is there a case maybe going forward that he could be deployed in a more attacking role if Greg Lee ever decides he wants to be fit? And, he could, I suppose, be deployed in that left wing-back role.
Yeah, or possibly changing back to 4 at the back, given Shea Logan's performance as well. That's right back, Constantine left back, Taylor and Hoban in the middle maybe, and then push Hayes forward into behind the striker and with whoever else is available still here, who knows. I think maybe John Hayes a bit further forward would be something we'd like to see, especially given severe lack of creativity we've had, and especially with players dropping in and out of the team. We need as much help as we can get.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting you speak about Dean Campbell there in the midfield. We're going to come on to it when we speak about the Livingston game, but I think the midfield in general yesterday, and I suppose being down to 10 men didn't help. There was no real drive from the midfield. I probably agree to an extent with what you said. We weren't overawed in midfield, but we didn't dominate that area of the pitch. And I think, that is an area of the pitch where we've seen a lot of in and outs week in, week out. There's been no consistency there. So if we are going to be kind of changing things around, that's one area that's been done. And we really do need to kind of strive for some consistency, because I don't think that's helping us in terms of trying to achieve results.
No, yeah, it's not. It's hard to sort of put anything together when the team's chopping and changing. It's like players missing out through suspensions, having to self-isolate, whatever, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, definitely not helpful, especially when things aren't going your way anyway. The last thing you want is to be like dropping players in and out just because through having to and not through choice. Not good, not helpful.
No. So the contentious talking point of the day, obviously this is being recorded on Monday. We weren't actually going to record a podcast today. We were going to wait until full time on Wednesday against Livingston. So it came out this morning or this afternoon that Scott Wright has been linked with a move to Rangers and the possibility of them signing him on a pre-contract, if not now. Have you taken your antidepressants? Are you feeling okay?
I'm not feeling good. It's quite embarrassing. It's another sort of embarrassing event, isn't it? That sort of a young, bright, well, maybe not young yet, but one of the few bright sparks of the season. Probably okay, inconsistent, maybe not got the complete end product, but considering how bad we've been, I don't think you can have a go at me for saying that he's been one of the few bright sparks. To lose him to possibly Rangers, again on a free, or even worse for Greg Stewart in a swap deal, it's not good. It's not good, is it?
I just have to interrupt you there. It won't be on a free.
Compensation.
They would be due as a development fee, given he came through our academy. So
brilliant. I mean, a couple $100,000. Thank God that'll save us when we've got no creativity as it is, and everything's appalling. We should just knock down just everything. Get Pittodrie into some flats. Start again. We'll be fine. I'm fed up. I really am fed up.
It's if it's not being Monday, it's been a tough day for you. So it's a therapy session, this recording. Hopefully it's therapy for those of you tuning in. At least it's only one of us having a meltdown today.
I know, but think how bad it is. People are like, oh, it's only Scott Wright. Okay, maybe his end product's not there. But at the same time, how bad were we without him in the team? And then it's taking the fact of losing him to Rangers for pennies, as I said, or possibly Greg Stewart. What's worse, I don't know. It's not a good look, is it, for this selling club that we're meant to be? It's not a good look. And he'll go there, he won't play, he'll come back and play for Dundee United when he's 28, and then that'll be it. Wasted.
You okay?
No.
I think as well, it's also the comments, and this is also going to ring true to a similar player who made similar comments during his time at Aberdeen, who, although he did say he was homesick and wanted to move back down to England, Scott Wright, or his agent, has come out and said that he wants to, try his luck down in England. Mm-hmm. Last time I checked, Glasgow is not in England. Shoni Aluko felt homesick, ended up at Rangers, 1-0. Scott Wright, if you want to move to England and find that Glasgow is not in England, and that's where you end up, hopefully you win nothing too.
Well, the problem is he won't even play. He's 23 now. He needs to play every week. He'll go there and he'll join the list of Barker, Stewart, Jones, Hasty. It'll just be one of those. It doesn't make sense for him. Obviously, a lot more cash money, which fair enough. But if he wants to go and give himself a go and have a go at this career, he'd be better off going down and testing himself in England.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's a good point. If he does move to Rangers, it's clear what his motivations in his career are now, and it is just money, because his chances in that team will be so limited. Mm-hmm. I think if you ask most Rangers fans, would Scott Wright get into your starting 11? Probably a lot of them wouldn't even keep him on the bench. He'd just be in their reserves. So it'll be interesting to see how that story develops. And let's say he does sign a pre-contract. What would your thoughts be? I know obviously this is all hindsight just now. It's all just speculation. But would he sign a pre-contract? Would you play him again for the club?
No, bin him. Do what Alex Dyer did with Eamon Brophy and just punt him out. Just get rid. Bin him. Yeah. If he signs pre-contract with them, shoot, pull and shit again. And I'm saying this, it's not definite that he'll go there, but I'm just saying if, hypothetically, bin him. There's no point. He obviously wouldn't want to be here, so what's the point?
No, play players who want to
be here. Recall Ethan Ross and play him.
Absolutely, and that's why we're saying just now, it is just rumours and speculation. Although, I have had a few messages on WhatsApp today saying that there's potentially the deal has been signed. Who knows? I don't know what to believe or who to believe. So, but if he has signed a pre-contract, out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and take Derek McInnes with you. Sorry, and Cormac as well. Sorry.
You really are struggling today.
Yeah, get them on trial for war crimes.
But the biggest issue for me though is, well, not only losing another player to Rangers, which is just leaves such a sour taste in the mouth, but as we've just discussed, we lacked creativity when Scott Wright wasn't involved. Mm-hmm. We can't then go and afford to lose a creative spark to our biggest rivals when we then haven't been able to sign a creative spark. Okay, one that people weren't, up nor down on, and I know this is going to irk you even more, but we couldn't sign someone based on a lack of finances. It's really going to kind of hurt Aberdeen fans here.
And again, GMS, I know that's you're alluding to. There's another person who's maybe end product's not there completely, but The pandemic's going on. No one's having a good time. I want to be entertained. He's someone who could entertain us. A bit of creativity. Hedges suspended, possibly losing Scott Wright. It would have been nice to just have someone else, another option. We've gone from being in the 80s, being one of the best teams in Europe, and now it's like, oh no, competition bad. What is that about?
Well, like you said, we've got creativity. Ethan Ross can be recalled and play in the team, so I suppose every cloud in that.
If we lose to Livingston, which we're about to get on to, recall him, just play the kids the rest of the season. I don't care now. Play the kids the rest of the season, give them experience for the new manager coming in summer. Do that.
Well, yeah, we are going to come on to that. But just one final line on the GMS thing. There was obviously the standout line that Tony Joseph tweeted was, that due to the lack of finances. How do you think that will sit with fans ahead of the summer transfer window? I know obviously there'll be players out of contract, so wages could be freed up from potential departures of both experienced and youth players. Like you said, maybe some wages freed up if the manager steps aside. But in general, obviously, season ticket renewals might not be where the club expect if fans still aren't allowed back into stadiums at the start of the new season. DNA membership might drop off as well. Who knows? So that wording, lack of finances, how do you think that kind of sets us up for the summer?
It's pretty concerning if we hark back. We came into this season with Craig Bryson on the payroll. Michael Devlin's still there. Obviously, these players won't be there coming the end of the season. Craig Bryson gone already. But it's pretty concerning going to the summer with this whole looming thing, kind of lack of finances. We're obviously all sitting around hoping, Alan Campbell, pre-contract. None of that's going to happen. It's not good. It's not looking good, is it? And with no sort of time in sight where fans will be allowed back in, it's quite concerning, pretty concerning. Obviously, yeah, as you said, there's a lot of players out of contract. It would be the ideal time for a rebuild. Is McKinnon the right man for the real rebuild? Who knows? If he's not, can we afford to pay him off? No. It's not good.
No, he doesn't strike me as the person that will leave amicably like other managers have done so far this season. Nope. Anyway, now that you've kind of managed to vent your feelings and have a bit of a breather, Sunday saw Rangers win for that was the first time Rangers have beaten us twice at Pittodrie in a season since the 2010-11 season. Obviously, we know they died and came up, so there is an exception of a few years there. We still haven't beaten them at home since the James Maddison free kick in 2016. And since Rangers were promoted in that season, we've now played the Old Firm 34 times and just taking the 18 points.
Pretty depressing. Were you hoping to cheer me up with those statistics after I got all that out? Oh, it's concerning, isn't it? It's very worrying. The fact that
last stat in particular, isn't it?
Kilmarnock and I think Hedges, the two teams that have taken off more points, or is it Motherwell maybe?
And if you based it on points per game played, I think Livingston even as well, they've 10 games they've played in are 15 points or something it is off of them. So yeah, it's especially our home form. We seem to we've won at Ibrox more than we have at home, which shouldn't be the case.
I think it's maybe a case of when I'm not there, we do better, because I've not seen them win at Ibrox. I've seen us lose 5-0 and then draw. So that's exciting. And then I left when we were 2-0 down after Ryan Jack scored. And then we came back to draw 2-2. So I should probably stop tuning in. It's my fault.
Yeah, please do then. So Wednesday sees the rearranged fixture from December when it was the all-weather pitch, couldn't handle a bit of snow and ice, as Aberdeen make the trip down to Livingston. Livingston haven't beaten us in the league since April 2004, but they themselves are on quite a good run of form just now, 8 wins in a row, so I think they must be fancying their chances.
I'm pretty confident that run's going to end. Yeah, I think, look, Livingston are on good form, playing pretty good stuff, on grass and on their normal pitch. And we've got to go down there, half a team. Everyone's made of glass in our team. Tommy Hoban, a big risk on there. Oh, it's going to be bad. I'm not confident of us getting anything whatsoever. They're absolutely flying. Scott Robinson is still about. He's scoring goals. James Forrest's little brother on better form than him. Well, I suppose he's been injured, but yeah, and most importantly than all of this, Ross County losing. We need to save the Mallard, guys. Get it together.
I liked how you said you were confident the run. I'm assuming the Livingston run was going to end.
Sorry, the Livingston run would end. The run of them not winning will end, and us, yeah.
So you're going to say we're going to draw, or you think we'll win?
No, the run of them not beating us is going to end. So they're going to beat us.
Okay.
Sorry.
Just because the way I ended that, it sounded like you were saying their 8 wins in a row was going to come to an end. So
that's not happening. No, there's no way that's happening. It's going to be 9.
Good to see the confidence is flowing through your veins. We go down there with no Ryan Hedges, obviously, suspended. And no Ryan Edmondson. His loan has ended and he's returned to Leeds. No big loss?
Not
Hedges
really.
is.
Yeah, Hedges is. Edmondson, not really, considering he was used very sparsely. I suppose we've got Bruce Anderson back to be the striker that sits on the bench and comes on for 5 minutes. So, yeah.
So we would expect then Matty Kennedy to come in to fill in at wing back, unless Shea Logan impressed enough to merit a start.
It's quite bad when I'm hoping Shea Logan comes in and plays, but I hope Logan comes in. Kennedy maybe further at the park if Messrs Scott Wright won't be playing. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I suppose that's a good point. Interesting development to see if, and I think that would maybe be an indication as to where the deal's at, if he's even involved. Let alone, if he's not in the squad at all, that would maybe be an indication that something's happening. Would you stick with 2 up top?
Yeah, why not? Give it another go. See if Curtis can be as lethal in the box rather than just on opposing defenders. That would be nice. See if that happens.
When was he last lethal? But
exactly. There you go. Exactly. See, it all comes together eventually, Glenn.
Yeah. I listened to the Talk Livy podcast this morning just to kind of hear what those guys were saying about the game on Wednesday. And I think they made a really good point about us as a team. If they keep Lewis Ferguson quiet, they keep Aberdeen as a team quiet. Do you think that's a fair point?
I think definitely without Ryan Hedges in the team as well. Yeah, definitely. It basically goes through Lewis Ferguson, and if he's sort of marked out the game or in a big midfield battle, which we often see, he does come on top quite a lot, but if he sort of doesn't get the better of them in that case, then nothing will happen for us. So if they target him, then that's us done. Beat us getting the 3 points now. I'm really buzzing about it, can you tell?
Yeah, and that's before you have to pay the £20 for the privilege to watch it as well.
I think I actually might do that. I don't know why, but I've decided I maybe just will, because nothing else to do.
But we really need to see a domination of the midfield on Wednesday night. And I think we'll expect McCrory to come in for Dean Campbell. I know, again, referring back to the chopping and changing in centre mid. There's a bit of doubt whether Lewis Ferguson's booking yesterday will lead to a suspension in a couple of games' time. That's 5 or 6 bookings he's now had this season. So, again, maybe at the weekend against Ross County or
somebody. I think it's County.
Yeah, we could see a suspension there if that is what transpires. So, yeah, another reappearance in midfield for Ross McCrory. But hopefully, if they want to mark Lewis Ferguson out of the game, we can maybe see a spark from him.
Here's hoping. So Ross McCrory, he's definitely shown that he's capable. And when him and Ferguson have played together and they're on form and things, together they're so good. They are really good partnership in there. Obviously, having played together a lot with Scotland as well, not just now that McCrory's here. So fingers crossed, you can see Ross McCrory step up back in the team, ready to go. Obviously, he was probably a pretty big miss against Rangers. Very smart decision from Rangers to put that, not only to say, like, okay, we don't have to pay until the end of the season, but then he can't play against them. I think we did miss him a lot as well, that sort of drive. And I think he'll have a point to prove against them when he does play them next season. So
I think
he can come back in.
If you look at our win percentage when McCrory isn't playing, I think it's down about 20%, and when he is playing, it's 60%. So the stats speak for itself.
Yeah, here's hoping we can get another one on that record on Wednesday, but sceptical.
You spoke there about Curtis Main needing to be lethal in front of goal, not just on his opponents. Is that something that's really important for us, not just Curtis Main, but Sam Cosgrove or any other players in and around the box, that we really need to be taking our chances? We need to start seeing a clinical edge from us in front of goals.
Well, at times, chances have been few and far between. So, I think that definitely is the case. And it's not the best of teams to be going in against and hoping to bounce back from a game against Rangers. But fingers crossed that they can. And I keep saying it, but every time, like if they maybe get a goal, then maybe we'll start flying and sort of Cosgrove they'll start coming along more frequently. But it keeps being sporadic, and hopefully he can hit the goal trail. Fingers crossed, because that's probably what gives us the best chance this season, after we've seen previously.
Looking at Livingston, it's probably going to be a case of stopping Scott Robinson from scoring. 3-3 for him now. They've got threats all over the pitch, though, as you mentioned. Alan Forrest back from injury, a goal and assist against Ross County yesterday. But even at the back, John Guthrie's been producing goals and assists all season. A threat from set pieces. So, Livingston are not to be taken lightly.
No, definitely not. And it's concerning because we have, whenever we're sort of on TV or something, they mention Aberdeen big goal scoring threat from set pieces. We're not. We don't make use of the height advantage that we often have. And defending them, sometimes we can be shambolic as well. So it's quite concerning that Livingston do pose that threat. Here's hoping we can get our act together and sort it out. But I'm pretty worried. Big John Guthrie, he'll bag.
Well, he's my captain on fantasy. So
shows that you think he'll bag.
Well, it was a double game week for Livingston, so I was more banking on a clean sheet against Ross County. But no, he just seems to pop up and find space in the box. And Livingston they're a stuffy team to play against. And I do feel we've struggled in our recent games in breaking teams down, Motherwell and Dundee United being prime examples of that. And I just fear that Wednesday's going to be more of the same.
Yeah, definitely. And this is against a team that does pose more of an attacking threat as well. So it's quite concerning.
Yeah, they do. And there's going to be confidence flowing. Winning breeds confidence. So they'll have nothing to fear. And they'll certainly be looking up the table, Callum. 8 wins in a row. If they win on Wednesday against us, they'll be 6 points behind. And depending how tonight goes for Hibs, they could be 3 points behind Hibs as well. Equally, though, we could go 12 points clear of Livingston. It's a big game for both sides. And, you touched on it in the last episode about table pressure. And Livingston creeping up will cause pressure.
Yeah, definitely. And they'll be looking at not only our form, but Hibs they've been sort of in and out of spells of form as well. They'll be looking at us saying they're there for the taking, especially looking at our not only our form, but we're not even getting results either. So it's sort of two ends of the spectrum, confidence-wise. They're playing well, getting results. We're not playing well, nor are we getting that many great results. So it'll be a very, very interesting time. If we can get up for it, then you never know, we might edge it. But yeah, they'll definitely be well up for it.
Yeah. It really is a big game, and it's a big week for us as well. I believe it is Ross County at the weekend after Livingston. So, I know, like you said, save the Mallard. Yeah, we might need to think that on Saturday. We'll need the points equally. It's not really, depending how Wednesday goes, it's not really kind of the fixture you then want to be looking at, a team battling and in need of points as well. That's when these fixtures become tricky.
Yeah, it's easy to look at them and go, okay, they're down there struggling. Maybe that should be an easy win. But they've got their backs against the wall fighting, so they'll be wanting it just as much as us, if not more. So it's definitely not a guaranteed 3 points, as we've seen against other teams in that situation so far this season.
Yeah, Hamilton being the prime example. So looking ahead to Wednesday night then, what would be your one word feeling towards it?
I used it earlier, skeptical. It's pretty self-explanatory. Skeptical that we'll either not only show up, but get a result. What about you?
I'm just going to use a word I used a few seconds ago. I'm going to go with stuffy, because I think it will be a stuffy game. We've not got Hedges. might not have Wright. I don't see where attacking flair is coming from our side. I kind of see Livingston going for it more now that they're under Martindale compared to Gary Holt. But, if the more the game goes on, they could quite easily just settle for a point if it looks like going that way. So, yeah, I think it's going to be another brutal watch on Wednesday. That's for sure.
Yeah, add that to the list of how many this season. I am so buzzing. Can't wait for it.
Yeah, enjoy spending the £20 or finding a link on suitable websites.
I don't know what's worse, spending £20 on it or finding like a really bad link and a really bad stream.
And then being asked if there's any Asian girls in your area for the whole 90 minutes.
He's goal, we're looking at you.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll be back on Wednesday night recording our full-time reaction and then looking ahead to the weekend's fixture. Hopefully some positivity, and hopefully it's given Calum a few days to calm down from his depressants that have been thrown at him yesterday and today.
Definitely. A win. That would lift up my spirits. But thank you all very, very much for tuning in.
And that's also episode 30, Calum. Come a long way.
I know. Who knew that we would make 30 episodes of us just mainly talking nonsense with 2 decent interviews thrown in there? That's about it.
Yeah, exactly. Over 2,000 listens now. 7 episodes have now reached over 100 views. 131 of you have kindly subscribed to our YouTube channel. If you're watching for the first time, hit that subscribe button.
Exactly. You know what to do. Like the video as well.
Yeah, and we're just shy of 6,000 views on YouTube as well. So, thanks again for your support in this time.
Definitely. It is massively, massively appreciated. And thank you very much for tuning into this one as well.